Alright, so here is my Rage Warrior list at present. If you follow the channel for a while, you know that this is an archetype that I put time into for a long time, since like Rage was a card. But here's why I built this version the way I have it now. You only have a handful of Rage targets, right? Night Shadow is a reasonable Rage target against your more aggressive decks, against your Halalu, against your whatever, because you only need to be at 14 Magicka to do that in one turn. So that's something that you can pull off pretty straightforwardly. Your Rage target against control decks is Pure Blood Elder, because you can, if they give you time to get to 18 Magicka, that's a 16/16 creature, and it's with Breakthrough, and it's pretty easy to just win the game with that. You have Blood Magic Lord as sort of removal bait, also just as an additional win condition. You have the 1 Blood Magic, 1 Night Talon, because this deck actually is super susceptible to cast into time. Like, never play your first Pure Blood Elder without the other one in your hand, like as a tempo play. Like, don't do that. What you're just trying to do in the early game is stall. You're trying to stall with Aldalath the Assassin, Barrow Stalker, Rapid Shot, Greenpack Stalker, Quicksilver Crossbow, Skavens, this stuff. All of this stuff is just to get you to like the handful of cards over here. You have a Singleton Dark Harvester, which you can bring back with Necromancer, which isn't actually like hugely powerful in this deck. Besides bringing back Dark Harvester, it can also bring back Cicero and Venom Tongue for combos with your Quicksilver Crossbow, Sword of the Inferno. Keep in mind, Sword of the Inferno can also be shuffled into your deck with Galen, as can Quicksilver Crossbow, but Sword of the Inferno is just better. And yeah, you're looking to get to 18 Magicka. At 17, you can Unstoppable Rage on a Night Talon Lord, which is pretty hilarious, but like also like you can just lose still when you do that. Yeah, depending on the matchup, you might want to Galen in. The swords are a really good one to shuffle in sometimes, but it's not always the best one. Depending on the matchup, it may be Night Shadow, it may be Necromancer, maybe it's Dark Harvester in some weird niche situation. And Green-Packed Ambusher is also not an unreasonable one in certain matchups. Green-Packed Ambusher is here because it's a great combo with Unstoppable Rage against the first Conscription that your opponent might drop down, but honestly, you should steamroll Conscription decks with this deck. You should also beat every other control deck you ever run into. And here's how you win the Mirror, which I've played way more often than I've ever expected. That would just be Unstoppable Rage on a Pure Blood Elder. Get a little poke damage in there. Try not to overexpose yourself. Kill your own creatures off if you can or have to. Yeah. As far as other ways you can build this deck, like I personally love Cicero. The deck, I think, could function without the Necromancers, the Cicero, the Dark Harvester, putting in Cradle Crush Giants, and yeah, maybe another Green-Packed Ambusher. It really depends. Your weakest matchup is going to be just like blindingly fast aggro. You need to kind of paradoxically ignore the board and ramp like a maniac, and then Unstoppable Rage on a Night Shadow to stabilize in order to not lose that matchup. It's going to be a tough one. Don't hesitate in the early game to use your Masterminds and your Camels to discard against decks you don't think are running Memory Wraith, to discard some of these things so that you can bring them back with Falkwraith Defiler, Sword of the Inferno, Quicksilver Crossbow type combos. On 12, you can also Unstoppable Rage on a Falkwraith Defiler, and if you have a Killer Graveyard, then you can bring all that stuff back then too. This is a great, I have to say, like, Sword of the Inferno has really brought this deck to a power level it was never at before. I'm a huge fan of all of these giant, stupid creatures, and it's great to see Pure Blood Elder get some play too. But look, you haven't, something to keep in mind is you haven't lost until you've lost, right? Like, your opponents are going to try to grind, try to become the aggressor, because if they've played the matchup a few times already, they know that they're going to lose trying to grind you out. Yeah, just go nuts. It's a lot of fun. See you guys on the ladder. Howdy folks, Justin here, and today we're hopping on the ladder with Rage Warrior. A fun deck to play. It's challenging sometimes to not just get excessively weird with the deck because it's, you know, there are some like huge plays the deck can make, and I'm not gonna lie, man, this is what happens every time I play decks with like huge cool things you can do in them. I struggle to not just like play for those huge big things. So anyway, it's a fun deck to play, so here we are. You know what, I like this whole hand. We're playing against Guggen on Tribunal Temple. And let's rock and roll. We just want to ramp up, do some silly things, play some giant creatures. Looks like our opponent is taking their sweet time. We're going to lead with a Barrow Stalker in the event that it's mid-range. This has potential uses later. Execute, though, not usually the kind of thing you see in mid-range. Could be, but we'll find out here in a second. Daggerfall Mage could come down no matter what kind of deck my opponent's running, but maybe we get a second execute out of their hand. Mummify. Wow. So, control then. Alright, so we're going to take our sweet time here, apparently. This is what happened last time I filmed with this deck. Little Barrow Stalker action. Necromancer. Yeah, I think the winning move here is to do nothing. Let's take our sweet time. Well, there's Cicero. I'm going to play Cicero with the expectation that it dies. And then maybe we Necromancer it back. Should be okay. Should be an okay move here. Yeah, that works. That works. Do we want to just double ramp now? Let's go ahead and Venom Tongue this. They can swing in if they want to. They have to do something about this, though. There's an Edict. Yeah. Continuing to pummel us a little bit. Here, I mean, I could go nuts with the draw. I could bring back Cicero, draw 4 cards. Only ramped once, but I like the idea of drawing a bunch of cards, so let's do that. There we go. There we go. Draw, 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 draw. Cool. Another Sword of the Inferno is good. Skaven. A lot of good stuff. Sitting at 8 cards in hand. Cicero is a card that, like, you want in the deck, but you don't always want in the deck. Alright, casting those into time seems fine. Casting in time is a potential problem longer term. Here, just going to drop some stuff on the board. I'm just going to drop some stuff on the board. Need to do more ramping. Nahaglev. So, this seems like a fine use of this sword here. Get that ramp game going strong. And now it's worth pointing out that, like, in these grindy matches, this incidental poke damage, like, it matters. Because, like, you'd like to win on the back of a gigantic, unstoppable rage, but it's not always possible. This is our last sword, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, didn't want the lightning bolt, looks like. There's an unstoppable rage. So we do have Magicka for this. As it stands, what am I into? We only have the 1 Blood Magic Lord in our deck. It's not how we're going to win this game, so I'm kind of into swinging into this, playing the Blood Magic Lord, and passing the turn. This gets cast into time more often than not, I think. Having it in our discard pile is fine, though. Mummify, okay. Something like that was bound to happen. Opponent going face, though, huh? little Telvos Magister action. Treeminder is great. Okay, so we need to win by running our opponent out of crap. We could use an Unstoppable Rage here, but it's not super effective yet. This is our last Sword of the Inferno. But I think just to get our ramp game to where we want to be, this is fine. And now we're going to dump some stuff out of our hand. Because really, we're just looking for the explosive, unstoppable rage here. We do need to get that face ward off of him. A little mage's trick. Wow. Okay. Hardcore Tribunal Control is definitely an interesting one. Histgrove is great on the off chance that it works. It almost certainly doesn't, but it's the only copy we have in our deck. I like the idea of having a single Histgrove. There's an Edict, that's fine. Hollow Death Priest hits our Knight Talon Lord, and that's the only one of those in the deck, so that's frustrating. Okay. Velothi Assassin. Let's go ahead and rapid shot this. There's a second Unstoppable Rage. I think we're still doing pretty well. There's an Ice Storm. And just more face damage, absolutely. I'm still comfortable with where we're at. The Drain Life, the Night Shadow, the Unstoppable Rages. A little Wardcrafter action. Sure. And a Haunting Spirit is not what I expected. There's Pure Blood Elder. Do some quick math here. So 16 minus 32 minus 4. That looks like dead to me. That looks like dead to me, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice, I have to say. Yeah, there you go. Good game, man. Good game. I can't believe this is a deck I could play.